Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here, back with another crypto video. Today, we're going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, but before we get into any of that, make sure you press the like button on this video right now because we're giving away $200 worth of crypto. All that you have to do is press the like button on this video, comment something down below, and have the notification bell on, and if we hit 299 likes within 24 hours, we're giving that away. So, of course, the big news of yesterday, and yes, I'm talking about yesterday because I've been a little bit behind, but there's still a lot of cool stuff I want to cover, was this tweet from Ripple. It was, "New year, new trends. Ripple executives share their thoughts on how new technology and applications for digital assets will lead to tangible change across industries." And there were many people like Digital Assets Daily, at Assets Daily, who, for example, retweeted this and said, "Now it's directly from Ripple. There's a reason we're all getting excited." Also from Paul W. Kellogg, who said, "Ethan Beard terms a flight to crypto as the safer asset class in the face of a potential global economic slowdown." SVP of Spring Ethan Beard. And for example, Crypto Wolf as well, XRP Crypto Wolf said, "Ripple says BG, which is Brad Garlinghouse, is even bolder, predicting that half of the top 20 biggest banks in the world will actively hold and trade crypto assets in 2020. I mean, 2020 is around the corner here. We're already in 2020 in like 10 days. So really strange that a prediction like that came out from Brad Garlinghouse. That's really bold. He is also one of the many on the team at Ripple that believes that fiat currencies will go digital in 2020. I think that's actually it. There were a couple more people who retweeted this as well, but these were the ones I have left, I guess. If you press the article, though, it was also really interesting to read through this. It's quite a long article, quite a good read, though, so I recommend everybody to take a couple of minutes out of their day just to read through this. If you don't have the time, just make some time. I mean, you got 5 minutes left, right? At the end of the video, we're going to read through this all the way, though, so make sure you watch till the end or just scroll through a little bit if you want me to read through it. Another tweet comes from Tritech6. He said on Twitter, "So much excitement for the crypto community." I'm going to give him a little follow right there. "We are heading towards the right direction." That's actually a reply to a tweet by City Sharif, who said, let's actually open up that tweet. "iPinky came with a link which confirms the amendments of an existing law which is mainly focused on AML, cryptocurrencies, and crypto custodianship has been added to this law, which goes into effect in January of 2020. And one of the big issues I've always thought about with crypto in general is really, how are they going to do money laundering? Or how are they going to do taxes and stuff when everybody's working with cryptocurrency? I've really been quite interested in everything that's surrounding that. So, that there's laws and regulation being made is not something new to me, and definitely not something strange, but still I seem to wonder exactly what they're going to be doing on that and when results will really show, and also really what they can do. Because just realistically speaking here with you guys, it at least on plain eye, doesn't seem that difficult to launder stuff through crypto, in my personal superficial opinion. Again, I've not tried it. I don't know. Maybe it is very difficult, but superficially speaking, it doesn't sound as difficult than if you compare it to traditional fiat. Just general opinion. I haven't thought about it too much. I haven't put too much depth into it or detail or thought, but just thinking about it. But yeah. Tritech also came out and said, "When Lambo," and he actually posted something here, or it's also a retweet from Peter Vass, who said, "From today, Google searches for Ripple up 56% in the past week." I just find it really crazy how excitement for cryptocurrencies really boom most of the time towards the Christmas season. The season of giving, season of doing good for all your community and the people and whatever. It's really also the time when cryptocurrency do very good in terms of mood and in terms of searches and stuff. At least that's how I've been feeling it. The community has always been very nice and bondy towards these Christmas times, but maybe because it's a time of giving and caring for each other and stuff, that community also turns great. I don't really know. The Crypto Bull came out and said, "Ripple raises $200 million to push adoption of XRP crypto." He also said, "It's good to be invested in something that is the farthest ahead in terms of use case and adoption of all the crypto assets out there." Right? And the fun fact with Ripple is they're valued now at such a crazy amount. And if you're wondering about that, my next video that's going to come up in a couple of hours will be talking about that in great detail. But the fun part about all these new outcomings, or however you said, the news articles that have to do with the valuation or how much Ripple's doing it, they're just like, to me, Like, oh, okay, like we knew this, so what's the point? They're just trying to, show us what they're doing like we didn't really know. For example, here, they raised $200 million to push adoption of XRP crypto. Exactly what could they mean with that, right? I mean, what's the purpose? What are they trying to do? Personally, really don't know. The $200 million Series C funding round, which was led by global investment firm Tetragon, could help validate Ripple's claim that more banks and money transmitters will embrace the cryptocurrency XRP for international transactions. I'm like, that's perfectly cool. And I mean, I want them to upload these articles because, of course, they're spreading Ripple on XRP out there. But I'm like, we already know they're so much ahead of their game. These articles are just making people more and more bullish, right? And that's why I said, why are they doing this? They're just making these people too freaking bullish to back down. We're going to have no arguments left to bash XRP or Ripple because they're just moving too fast. They're just moving too greatly, and they're too far on top of their game. To me, the battle's already won. If we're doing Ripple versus anybody else, Ripple is winning this, and it's just getting more and more clear through all these articles that are getting published and all these new things that are coming out here. I really think it's getting scary to see how far they've already gone and what pace they are freaking going, man. I'm really kind of crazed about this. I think it's a little bit scary. To one of my previous videos, Jacob Canfield replied and said, "Thanks for the shout out, Dusty. For reference, 2017, I was all about XRP, but I took a majority of my profits on the way up at 50 cents, $1, $2, and the last 10% at $3. Just been waiting for it to get back down before I consider buying it again." And I don't exactly remember what Jacob Canfield said, which I replied to in this video. But one fun part that I noticed from his comment right here is that there's many people in the community that will have different average prices. And there's also many people who have been introduced / bought for the first time at different prices. And Jacob Canfield here is a perfect example of an investor. At least that's really kind of what I depicted from the story here. An investor and a professional in his field, in this field of trading most likely. That has also gotten quite a good average price. Good as in pretty far up. Because my average price here is definitely not going to be above... not above 10 cents, I would say. I don't think my average price of XRP is above 10 cents. I would most likely think it's actually below 2 cents or maybe even 3. But I'm just saying it's most likely not above 11 cents or 10 cents. But this person here, he could have taken, I don't actually know exactly when he bought, but he said he was all about XRP in 2017 and took a lot of profits at 50 cents, $1, $2, and the last 10% at $3. But he's not bought anymore. It's actually really interesting to think about this, right? Because, for example, if you were to have an average price right now of let's say 54 cents, right? You're down like 50 odd percent right now, maybe 60% even. And for you, it's all looking very negative right now. For example, if your average price was like maybe Jacob here, 20 cents, for example, if it goes back to 50 cents, you're in double profits. Well, what the point I'm trying to make here is that average price is everything. And that's why I always recommend everybody to have a good layering strategy in place. But that's also why a lot of people may predict price to go down further, and it will not have a negative effect on me or other people, just because we know we are going to buy the way down, and there's no negative term in there. Paul W. Kellogg said on Twitter, "Basically, what I've been thinking is ahead of us. Time tells it all." And it's a reply to MRC Baba Yaga, who said, "The rest of the lifetime, according to me, this is the perfect time to release the Mo app. Expect market crash, expect mass arrests, expect illiquidity problem, a emergency solution is needed in January, return to gold standard plus XRP, and the new financial system, time will tell." Pretty interesting, pretty crazy, but let's read the article now. So, standing on the doorstep of a new year and a new decade, it's hard to believe that the first real public engagement with digital assets began only a few short years ago in 2017. Over that year and into the next, speculators and media coverage drove wild fluctuations in interest and price, contributing to a series of both spectacular rises and precipitous falls in each. This whole part here is not too interesting though, so I'm just going to kind of skip it here. Digital assets underpin consumer financial products. Because, I mean, looking ahead, well, you know what, actually let's not skip anything. Let's just go for it. It's only 5 minutes or so. But the digital asset roller coaster ride smoothed out over the course of 2019 as speculation subsided and specialized use case began to emerge. That utility helped demonstrate value in digital assets beyond trading and contributed to increased stability, while skeptics across And critics might still view digital assets as a giant game of Jenga, just waiting for a wrong move to send all the blocks tumbling down. We here at Ripple see the future of digital assets as more like a vast set of Legos. By carefully piecing them together, it is possible to reimagine familiar words or create entirely new ones. Looking ahead, we believe 2020 will reveal new technologies and applications for digital assets that can lead to meaningful, tangible change across a wide range of industries. In particular, though, we expect 3 major themes to develop in the first year of the new decade that will lead to a more mainstream embrace of digital assets. That's again the most interesting part of the first article here, or the first part. Digital assets underpin consumer financial products. XRP is a digital asset custom designed to facilitate cross-border payments. A number of companies, including MoneyGram and GoLance, and applications have already endorsed this use case, and we anticipate even more will join the adoption curve over the coming year. But our team expects other digital assets and use cases to find traction in the coming year and decade as well, though. I mean, it's kind of but they expect other digital assets to find use case as well, but also kind of saying like XRP is going to find in the coming year, and the others are going to be finding in the coming year and decades. So they're kind of putting XRP up forward, but I think it's just trying to say, they're not trying to exclude other crypto here just to, make them sound good. I think it's a good one to add, though. Ashish Birla, Ripple's SVP of product, predicts that mobile wallets will enter the blockchain and crypto industries in a big way. Specifically, he believes that adoption of digital assets and blockchain technology among mobile wallets and super apps like Gojek, Grab, and PayPal will become more mainstream as they look to expand their services to keep with consumers' demand and compete with digital banks. According to Ashish, that adoption will continue expanding to include new credit card and loan products, and he expects that these more mainstream use cases will first emerge in developing markets like Kenya, Nigeria, and parts of Latin America, where it is actually needed most acutely. And these applications will be aided by friendlier regulation towards digital assets, which will also make them more attractive to tech companies seeking paths to expansion. Similarly, Ripple SVP of Customer Success Marcus Streecher sees international and micropayments expanding to facilitate new consumer uses. In particular, he envisions purchase solutions for tourists and travelers that no longer rely on credit cards, rails taken root in 2020. They said cards or card, but they're talking about credit cards and other sorts of cards. Whatever. Imagine if a Japanese tourist visiting Thailand could buy goods using a mobile app or QR code, triggering an immediate cross-border payment from their Japanese yen account to a Thai baht merchant's account. If more consumer purchase solutions start leveraging blockchain tech in the same way, the payoff will be quite literally freaking huge. And that's really a solid point that they're making right there. Like, right now, if you're having your euros or your dollars wherever you live right now, you go to a different country, most likely it's going to be a little bit of a hassle to pay in stores, right? You're going to either have to buy the local currency, or you have to go to some modern stores which accept PayPal, for example, or where you can buy maybe with some sort of Google Pay or for something like that. But again, a lot of different solutions are not helpful. Marcus also predicts that big tech companies will continue to enter the payment space, hastening the growth of micro and wallet payments, supporting immediate low-value payment flows. This expansion of micropayments beyond traditional messaging apps like Telegram and Line to keep deep-pocketed enterprises, should create a resulting surge of developers flocking to digital assets. Institutional adoption of digital assets accelerates. This has already been happening for quite a while, but definitely throughout 2020, another year, another big opportunity. We're going to see some major developments come by as well. 2019 here was just to gain a lot of traction, and 2020, I think the ball's really going to be rolling quite heavily. For digital assets and associated applications to have long-term staying power, institutional players must embrace the tech. We anticipate that just such a wave of institutional adoption will begin in 2020, with more traditional firms deploying digital assets and blockchain-based solutions. Brian Madigan, our head of global institutional markets, says this will be enabled by trusted custody brands such as State Street or Bank of New York becoming involved with digital assets. The presence of recognized players will increase institutional confidence in the space and pave the way for greater institutional adoption next year, explains Brian. CEO Brett Gallinghouse is even bolder, predicting that half of the top 20 biggest digital banks in the world will actively hold and trade digital assets in 2020. He's also one of the many of the team that believes fiat currencies will go digital in the next year. This is the most important part of the whole article. Really amazing from Barrett Garlinghouse, though. While SVP of Spring, Ethan Beard, expects at least one central bank to launch a tokenized representation of their fiat currency in 2020, Brad forecasts at least one non-G20 currency like the Argentine peso or similar will be fully digitized within the next year. The crypto industry evolves to keep pace. The expanded adoption of digital currencies by mainstream and national institutions will also have an impact on the industry supporting the technology. Specifically, Ashish and Brian both expected to produce a wave of consolidation amongst crypto exchanges. For his part, Ashish says the growing cost of keeping up with security, compliance, and technology will be more than the smaller exchanges can handle. Consolidation will enable companies to grow from regional to global players and to better compete with banks and brands like, to better compete with bigger brands like Binance that have already begun acquiring several other exchanges. That's also really interesting how they're doing all of that. Brian sees consolidation being driven more by the interest in digital assets and blockchain from institutional brands. She predicts an increased focus on true volumes, subdued retail interest in exchanges, and the appearance of more institutional-grade exchanges. This will all combine to spark a wave of consolidation as companies compete to add volume and customers. Beyond exchanges, Brad expects to see consolidation among other crypto companies and also, of course, themselves, and he boiled it down to a simple numbers game. The world doesn't need 2,000 plus digital assets. While I don't think there will be one coin to rule them all, it is clear that if an asset doesn't have a proven use case beyond speculation, it isn't going to survive. Economics 101. There's nothing to back them up. In this case, there's no real life assets except for, in this case, use case, which is maybe not even real case or real world, but still something to back them up. Is going to fail eventually, because at one point people are going to lose their trust. And with Bitcoin, I think the biggest part about it is that we've just really pushed it as a store of value, and to some extent it is being backed up by some bigger parties right now. But still, there's always an endless discussion of, is Bitcoin backed enough to never be able to fail? And that's always a numbers game, a hard one. It's a hard game to play, really. It's really a hard discussion to have, just because there's no real good answer to it. Is it backed enough? I would say to a certain extent, yes, just because every transaction ever is recorded, right? And we know exactly where all the money lies. We know exactly what works and how it works. And literally the value can never be zero, just because there will always be people who like the decentralization over everything. And there will be tons of people who are going to be holding it through, because just think about every single scenario out there, right? There's none of them that are really going to be able to stop Bitcoin, except for if, all the major banks in the world, literally all of them, decide to just adopt one other cryptocurrency. For example, they all decide to bundle towards Ethereum. Could be that Bitcoin becomes second place then. But on the contrary, Bitcoin holders, or the earlier Bitcoin holders, were most likely quite the contrarians themselves. So even if all the big players decide to go for one coin, it could still be that Bitcoin even flourishes more, just because that's really what it was kind of for, right? To just be decentralized. And if all those big companies are starting to interfere with crypto, then maybe that's exactly what Bitcoin wanted to do in the end, or in the beginning, which is still, again, why they might still do good. With XRP, though, they're so backed up by use case that I don't think there's any worry for that. And also, the value of XRP doesn't really matter too much. I mean, it's not considered a store of value as much as Bitcoin is. It's mostly used for, again, cross-border payments. And a payment takes a couple of seconds. So the value per coin doesn't really matter for XRP. It's only good right now for us just because you want your XRP that you are holding to become worth more. But in the bigger goal, it doesn't really matter too much. A crypto push. These three evolving trends will together likely fuel what Brian calls the next major push for the digital assets market. That's pretty interesting that she's also expecting a push. She projects that growing institutional comfort level with digital asset use cases, along with increased regulatory clarity in the US and the next Bitcoin halving by May 2020, will all lead to the next large adoption cycle. That breakthrough could also be aided by what Ethan terms a flight to crypto as the safer asset class in the face of a potential global economic slowdown. And lest anyone think we forgot about Libra, this is not true. Multiple team members chimed in to predict that Libra will neither launch nor be cancelled in 2020. They expect that increased regulatory scrutiny, privacy concerns, and the defection of key association members will combine to at least temporarily stall Facebook's plans for digital assets. Ultimately, the coming year and decade will see digital assets and blockchain continue to emerge as core underpinnings of the world's financial future, and today's first movers will have an enormous role to play in delivering the change for tomorrow. We're excited to watch it unfold. Guys, that was this video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. I read way too much. I haven't read such a long article in a very long time out loud. And again, I'm not natively English speaking or whatever, so it's pretty difficult, but I try my best to read through it. Some people say, hey, Dusty, you can't read or what? Well, I can, but it's a lot more difficult when you're recording. That's one thing. It's also a lot more difficult when you're not English. And it's also a lot more difficult when you've been working all day. But yeah, guys, thank you all for watching this video. Hopefully you did enjoy. And I'll see you guys again in another crypto video. Don't forget to giveaways, and don't forget to check out all links in the description below.